It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
This is the KQ Morning Show for Monday, October the 23rd. Good morning. Whew, baby. It is Monday, and we do not have to talk about how bad the Vikings looked yesterday. Isn't that nice? That's for tomorrow's show.
Oh, that's right.
Monday Night Football comes to the Twin Cities. Ladies and gentlemen, the San Francisco 49ers reeling after last week's loss to the Browns. Whoo, baby, might be a bit of a smackdown. Although, I'm actually thinking because after some of the results yesterday, I'm thinking, hey, man, the Vikings got a chance. Because if I have learned one thing this season, it's that I know nothing about football.
Yeah, no, right. So it's upside down. I'll tell you, the Browns, because are now starting to look like one hell of a team.
Yeah.
And
tremendous defense.
The best thing, and then did the Broncos beat the Packers? Did I see that walking through an airport yesterday?
Packers lost. The Lions lost, too. So
the Lions
great opportunity.
didn't lose. The Lions were destroyed.
By whom?
The Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, well,
who looked like crap a week earlier in a win over the Titans in London.
Yeah.
Absolutely just bitch slapped the Detroit Lions like they were the Detroit Lions yesterday in Baltimore. Hey, wait a minute. That's Brian Zepp over there. I knew that voice from somewhere. Zepp is back from England and has and by the way, welcome home.
Hello. Thank you. Good to be back on American soil.
You have done humanity a tremendous service because Brian Zepp, in his travels home from England, has proven that you don't have to fight on an airplane when provoked. Of all the people to stand down when someone spilled a drink on them, I just want to say, Brian, well done, sir.
And I was sober as a preacher when it happened, too. Well,
that
maybe
helps.
if I had been drinking.
That helps.
Yeah, for freaking 8 days over in England, where fog and rain is a tourist attraction. People,
Sure.
You can tell who the tourists are. They get a little, it's rain, it's London rain. I'm like, it's just freaking rain, all right?
Yeah.
We had to work around it a little bit, but, brought the proper footwear, planned on it, all right? Kept my socks dry all week, fairly proud of that. Nobody wants to slosh around in wet socks. No. I'm on the frickin' plane coming home, and some drunk out of first class, no less, because they get the free cocktails up there.
Sure.
As if that's not enough to rub it in your face, stumbles back past my aisle and spills his frickin' drink on my shoe, completely soaking my sock. I thought, 9 days in England, or 8, whatever it was, 8, and I get a wet sock from the...
Okay, hang on. We've got the audio. Oh, wait, no, we don't. Damn it. Why didn't you get... We talk about this all the time.
I know,
Every day, there's one iPhone video, at least, of an altercation at 30,000 feet. We could have had some home cooking. We could have said, right from the source, and you had to be mature, and you had to be the adult about it. I'm proud of you. But now I'm kind of not proud of you. Come on, man.
I think we were over Iceland, and I didn't want to force it down in Reykjavik and be stuck there for a while. So
you don't want to get in that whole hot tub culture over there.
No,
steam baths.
Ready to get home. Enough wet, steamy weather.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So,
but a good trip overall.
A fantastic. I did not know this. You know most things about that. We're a globe right now, a global population. We know what's going on over there. We're not, even though we haven't visited. I did not know. Steve, you probably know this, but in the Soho district, that's the bar district over there where you like to have a good time, you can piss legally on the sidewalk, which I did. They have troughs out there on the sidewalk. And I walked past and I told Maria, I said, that looks like a urinal, doesn't it? Right there on the sidewalk. She said, it is. What? And I turned around, there's a guy pissing. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'd had a few ales in me at the time, and I thought, why not? People walking by, it's just as if you would walk down to Nicollet Mall and whip it out and start peeing on the wall if the wall had a urinal on it. Sorry, ladies, nothing for you. I guess you'll just back to the the dumpster in the alley for you. But
are there any signs that designate that it's the area, or do they call it something?
No, but it's obvious what it is, and it's a urinal trough, and it's on the sidewalk, and because the toilets over there, you get one little. They're smaller than airline toilets, and they're here and there, and you have to kind of find them, but not right. Let's go out on the piss.
A lot of folks, they go to England and they'll talk about Soho districts. There's the theater district too there.
Yes.
I took in a great performance.
Yes.
I saw Henry VIII David Strathairn, obviously, oddly enough, he was unstoppable. I didn't know he was a stage actor. And then you'll hear people say, like, oh, my God, I went to Windsor Castle. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Big Ben, finally saw it in person. I went to the Churchill War Rooms. I felt amazing.
Yeah.
Zepp's like, man, you can pee on the street.
On the freaking sidewalk. What are we doing here in the United States? It was like that's it. And yeah, we have a photograph of it of Maria sending along.
They do. Well, the thing is that that is actually a great thing, and it just goes to show that's a much older society. They've been dealing with that for way longer than we have. That kind of goes hand in hand with. I just read this the other day, and I didn't know this about New York City, and especially in Brooklyn. And I used to live in Brooklyn. You know, the brownstones, famous row houses you see all throughout New York City, all throughout northeastern cities. And the ground floor, the first floor is not the ground floor, if you will. Most people that live in brownstones, you go up a set of steps from the sidewalk, and that's your main entrance. That's the main floor of the house. The basement is almost always like a rental unit, or it's where you have the laundry. It's not like it's generally speaking. And someone said, well, you know why they built brownstones like that back in the day? Why you went upstairs to get into the house? Because there's really I never thought about it. I was like, yeah, why is that? He said, well, because back then the horses were just up to your knee in horse crap.
Yeah, right.
And so you would wear boots that you would pull up to almost your knee level, and they would never enter the boots would come off at the front door, and then you enter your home. And I was like, oh, yeah, they left that out of the history books. Yeah, that checks out.
We worked around our feces and urine for centuries.
There was nothing. It was just mud and horse crap was what the streets of New York were paved with. Whereas in London, more of a drinking culture with a little bit more history, the streets are paved with your pee. So that's great. Well, it's great to have you back. We had a good time, but we were wondering the whole time. We're like, is this the day he's going to be drunk at 5 p.m. or 3 p.m. in London and call us? But it never happened.
Wednesday, I did, but I didn't get through.
Oh,
it would have been probably the 9 or 8 o'clock hour here, but noon to 4, I saw that it was happening, and forgot what we were into on Wednesday.
Were you able to see any of the English soccer game against Italy? Did you catch that in a pub by chance?
We went down to ye old Cock and Balls or whatever it was, the pub there, and started hoisting them back. And the jerseys
and a big win for England. That must have been pretty great.
Big win for England, and the next morning you get up and whatever it was, the London Times, I guess, the big newspaper there in the hotel, it just had a big picture, of course, after one of the goals, and it just across the top in the bold letters, job done.
Nice.
Just job done. But it's all about football. You jump on a train over there and everyone's has their phone to their ear. They're not talking. They're listening to the football game, and then you get it's a football town. You can, if you want to just tour stadiums in London, football stadiums, you could spend a week just doing that.
There are no shortage of them. There are so many teams in that city. We've got a big day for you today. At 9 o'clock on this show, Johnny Marr is calling us. Johnny Marr is the founding member. He's the founder of the band The Smiths, a guitarist who, if you're not familiar with The Smiths music, believe me, you know a whole lot of artists who took every page they have from his book. One of the most iconic and impactful behind-the-scenes musicians, I would say. Easy to say without hyperbole of the last 40 years. He's got a great new book out called Johnny Marr's Guitars, and it's just all of his guitars with a story and a page and photos. And as a drummer, I rolled my eyes, and then I opened the book, and I was like, man, this is gorgeous. What a great book. It's tremendous. I'm excited to talk to Johnny Marr at 9 o'clock. We're going to talk to the Mike Evanses of the world. So you know what else we have? AI is finally finding itself to be useful. Maybe. Maybe.
Right before it takes us all out.
We've got some Toy Hall of Fame updates. I'm happy to have you back, Zepp. We got a good show coming up.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's see, the game show at 8 o'clock. What are we giving away today? Minnesota Wild versus the Jersey Devils.
Nice. Plenty of reasons to stay around.
Hey, Mike Evans Hollywood Report here at 6:30. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
Oh, I see what's happening. It's time for the Mike Evans Hollywood Report. Good morning, Michael.
Hey, good morning. How was your weekend?
Wonderful, sir. Yours?
Good. It was really good.
Great.
This report brought to you by Marcus Theater. Don't forget, write it on your calendar, put it in your iPhone in a message to remind yourself, tomorrow, Tuesday, Value Tuesday, $6 for any movie, and 20% off all concessions. Check it out. And the Southbridge Crossing Cinema is my theater of the day.
I'm putting it in the phone right now. TUESDEE2. Okay, got it.
Got it. Well, in case you missed it, weekend box office, Taylor Swift did a whopping $31 million. Killer of the Flower Moon did $23 million. But, Steve, I mean, Taylor's movie has topped $130 million, and her record sales have hit the roof with 23 singles on the iTunes Top 100 and 15 albums at the same time on the iTunes Top 100. That's unbelievable.
That's how she rolls, man.
Man. A little follow-up. I like this. Hollywood Reporter calls Martin Scorsese's Flower Moon Martin Scorsese's 10th best movie. Did you see it, by the way?
No, sir.
Okay.
I plan to, and I look forward to it, but I have not seen it yet.
I was surprised it's 10th best, and then you start to thinking. Hollywood Reporter says that Martin Scorsese is so great, they named their top 5 Martin Scorsese movies. They are number 5, Casino from 1995.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, Wolf of Wall Street, 2013.
Okay.
Number 3, I think my favorite, Raging Bull from 1980.
Kind of hard to beat.
Number 2, Departed from 2006.
No, that's ridiculous.
And number 1, Goodfellas from 1990.
No argument.
Yeah. Well, do you have a favorite?
I'd say Raging Bull or Goodfellas. Mean Streets is up there too. I'm not a fan of The Departed's fine, but it doesn't belong on that list with those other films. The King of Comedy I would also put up there.
Yes.
You know, you forget that he made a lot of his movies were biographies. I mean, you know, the Wolf of Wall Street, Goodfellas, Raging Bull, even Flowers of the Killing Moon.
The Aviator.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
There you go.
After Hours, often overlooked. Great comedy.
That was fun.
Griffin Dunn.
Yeah, very funny.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Odds and ends. I know you've seen YouTube. Would you say they're one of the best groups to see in person?
Yeah. I've seen them a few times, and it's either tremendously over the top spectacular or just pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the worst U2 show I saw was pretty great.
I still like The Boss. I think the best. Okay. Yeah. Well, you can see YouTube in December at the Vegas $2 billion Sphere Theater.
They've added more gigs? Is that what you're telling
they've
me?
added from 12 concerts now 25 concerts now at the Sphere. I think they're great.
Yeah.
Plus a trip to Vegas, hell, that's a nice deal. There's a lot of buzz. I got some calls yesterday afternoon that when the studios and SAG and AFTRA meet Tuesday, there could be a settlement. But the same people told me if there's no settlement this week, it probably is not going to happen until after the holidays.
Yeah, for sure. The Hollywood holidays start just before Halloween, generally speaking. So yeah, they better get it done quick.
Hey, how about Minnesota? Minnesotans called the less stressed people in the United States in a new survey.
It's all the alcohol. There's a reason. It helps.
Oh, there you go. I got a little share news for you. You know, when I was 17 years old, I had already long quit high school. I worked for Sonny and Cher doing odds and ends, and when they first got started, driving them to Bob Eubanks, as in Bob Eubanks, the Newlywed Game, he had a club called the Revelair Teen Club in Redondo Beach.
Wait, you were their driver?
Yeah, I would drive them, yeah. They didn't like to drive.
Yeah.
We've been on the air together since January. You buried the lead. You should be saying that, hey, it's the Mike Evans Hollywood Report. I used to drive Sonny and Cher every day. Every day, lead with that.
I got a lot of stories for you. Did you ever go to Pink's?
The hot dog place, of course.
Yeah. The first times I drove Sonny and Cher. We went we were going to the Sugar Shack in Hermosa Beach, and he said on the way back, Sonny goes, "Well, we're going to stop at Pink's," and I didn't know what Pink's was. And he goes, "You're going to have to sit in the car while we eat." And I was kind of pissed off. I said, "Well, why should I sit in the car?" I mean, they were just starting. I mean, I used to hang out at their house before they bought the big house. And he told me, "No, you're going to stay in the damn car." And I was really getting pissed off, and we were arguing. And then I found out it was a hot dog stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, making fun of you. The Grand Teen Club in Torrance. Anyway, Sonny and I remained close friends until his death in 1998. Cher, not so much, but I always watched her career, and she was always getting into these weird situations over the last 30, 40 years. Another weird Cher story. Cher swears she did not hire 4 thugs to forcibly kidnap her son, Elijah, blindfold him, and secretly take him to a drug intervention.
Well, I mean, what mother hasn't denied those kind of stories, Mike? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
However, there are some authorities that want to investigate this story.
I bet.
I don't know what's going to happen. Probably nothing. And the other reason I decided to bring this shirt to the report today, her Christmas single called "Christmas Baby, Please Come Home." It's her first Christmas song. It is really good. I mean, just a great Christmas song. It will be formally released on November 1st.
Fair enough.
She did it with Darlene Love, who I really like, too.
Oh, well, yeah, that bodes well.
So what'd you do over the weekend?
Very little. Had a great dinner last night at an Argentinian steakhouse. Saturday, watched my Arsenal come back and draw with Chelsea.
Wow.
A lot of dog walking, a lot of sitting around otherwise.
You walk your dog a lot?
Yeah, baby.
We walk our dog 3 miles every day.
Attaboy.
Yeah, we have to do that.
Got to do it.
Hey, well, I'm glad everybody's back. Everybody's happy. A new week. Big game tonight, Game 7 in the American League Championship Series. Do you pay any attention to that? Do you care about that?
No. Ever since the Orioles were eliminated by the Texas Rangers, I've cheered against them. But then, of course, they're playing the Astros, who beat the Twins. So I'm like, I hope both teams pull up a hamstring and have to tap out.
Well, you know my time with the Dodgers. I hate those cheating Houston Astros.
Sure you do. Sure you do. By big game tonight, I guess you're not talking about the Niners coming into the Twin Cities for Monday Night Football.
Ooh, you know what? I didn't want to say anything because that's going to be a pretty tough game for the Vikes.
Good chance that they get their asses kicked. That's very true.
Maybe there'll be an upset.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't want to. Yeah.
There you go.
Hope springs eternal.
Have a great day, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.
See you, Mike. Did he refer to Raging Bull as Ranging Bull? Does he think it's about a
free-ranging bull?
That's what I was
very
like.
Tasty.
Yeah,
It's all the grass-fed free-ranging bull.
I heard Ranging Bull, and I thought maybe he thinks it's more of a cattle, film of the cattle industry.
Starring Kevin Costner, I think.
Yeah, man. Boy, I got a couple things I got to get into if we have time. He mentioned Pink's Hot Dogs, a legendary place in Hollywood.
Right.
And I've got a great Pink's Hot Dog story that involves an NFL quarterback and LSD, and I'm not making it up. And then I also, I mentioned I have a funny story, but okay, real quick, we heard Stuck's Angels by the Black Crowes from the first album. That song was the last song we recorded for Shake Your Money Maker. It was the oldest song we had at the time, and the band was like, that song sucks. We're over it. And our producer was like, what about that Angels song? And we're like, that one? I don't know. He goes, yeah, let's do the Angels song. And we're like, yeah, we don't know. So we went ahead, 3 weeks of recording. I'm back at work. I thought the record was done, at least for the drum tracks. I knew they were doing some overdubs during the day. I'm at the record store. I'm back at my day job. Phone rings. Hey, we're going to do that Angel song. Can you come over? And I'm like, no, I'm at work. And he goes, just come on. I need you to come play it. I say to my boss, hey, I got to go cut one more song really quick. I'll be back. He goes, you got to be back before we close. It's like 4 o'clock, and I have to be back by 7. I'm like, okay, cool. I race to the studio, and they'd already cut the acoustic guitar part just to like a click track, just to keep time. Mm-hmm. And he goes, just play along to this. And I sit down. I play the song once. It's over. And I'm like, is that it? He goes, yeah, that's good. And I leave, and I literally never think about it again. I'm like, well, you got to – George wants to do it. We'll do it. And then, like, the next day, everyone's like – I go to the studio. They're like, yeah, we finished the track. It sounds pretty good. And I'm like, that – really? And then, like, 2 days after that, I hear it, like, the actual track. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. And then they go to L.A. to finish the vocal. Anyway, long story short, the whole thing comes back a few weeks later, and I'm like – holy crap, I should not think about what I'm doing a lot more often. That's fantastic.
That's crazy.
The complete afterthought song for us. With the 2 songs that we were literally like, no way, was that and Hard to Handle. We're like, no, those don't need to be on the record. So again, the lesson as always, we're stupid sometimes. October 23rd, 1993, 30 years ago today, Joe Carter of the Toronto Blue Jays took Mitch Williams of the Phillies deep to win the World Series, a walk-off home run to win the World Series. That had never happened before. It was Toronto's second straight world title. I was thrilled, not because I like the Blue Jays, of course, But it's Philadelphia. I mean, the city's a cesspool, and their fans are all septic tank dwellers. So always happy to see Philadelphia get beat in gut-wrenching fashion.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Monday, October the 23rd. Good morning. Let's get rich quick.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah.
Ever had one of those great ideas, whether you actually tried to execute it or not? I've got, what was that? I've got some friends who over the years will say like, hey man, you know what we should do? I've never been that guy. I guess I just don't have the entrepreneurial, I know how to get rich quick scheme. But there's two things come to mind. I went to college at Western Kentucky University, and there was a broadcasting student there at the same time when I was also a broadcasting major in the 80s. And one day he said, I got an idea. I'm going to go into television, and I'm going to start a cable channel and I'm going to call it the Weather Channel.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
And I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. This is at the same time when I'm the same guy who, when I heard about ESPN, said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I'm a sports fan, and I was like, you can't have 24 hours of sports. And I thought, you can't have 24 hours of weather. Now, that's not, the story doesn't end with, and that guy did it. Someone else did it, apparently. Yeah. But I just remember at the time going, that's crazy. That'll never work. But some people just see around corners in a way that I certainly don't. A buddy of mine in Atlanta back in the day used to go to Braves games, and he had a giant like igloo cooler, but it was some weird off-brand, but it was huge. And it had wheels and with a handle. And he would literally go to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium on hot summer days, and as people were leaving, he just had bottles of water. Yep. And he was just selling them. And of course he's filling them with tap water. He's if he had a bottle in his house, he'd fill it. It was just like this grab bag of all these different brand name bottles and plastic bottles, and and it's just $1 each, and so many people leaving. It's 98 degrees in Atlanta. And I was always like, that seems like a lot of work to go make like $20 to me. But, again, I just don't have that. I'm going to go start a lemonade stand. I don't have that vibe. That's not my thing.
Think outside the box. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Joey, or was it John Larson? He was a couple of years older than me back in Woolsey, South Dakota. And he ended up going out to California and mowing grass for golf courses. He's just out there mowing the grass for the golf courses. Then they would have him bag up all the clippings and take it out to some empty lot and dump out the grass clippings. He's a farm kid from South Dakota. He also notices while he's driving to the golf course a lot of horse ranches. And you think, boy, just dumping a lot of good grass out there in the middle of nowhere. Hey, I know what I'll do. I'll take this and I'll package it in a way and put it in. He started by putting it in bags, then invented with a guy out there a machine that would bale grass clippings from golf courses. So he asked the golf course, hey, do you mind if I have the grass from the golf course? They're like, the clippings? Yeah, all yours, kiddo.
Yeah,
started bagging it up, taking it over to the horse guys, selling it to them. They're like, oh, yeah, this is fine grass, and it's all bagged up and ready to go, and dump it right in the trough. And last I saw him, he had a big mansion. He came back for one of those class reunion things. He's like, oh, yeah, I've got a huge business out in California, and it's being done all over the world now.
Awesome.
I would have laughed at him if he had.
Of course.
How about Noah Beer? That's BEER. That's right. Just like we love to chug it. Noah Beer down in Prior Lake, Minnesota, sitting around with his buddies one day. And now he has a nice Wild jersey, one of those expensive Wild jerseys. Ever try to buy a professional Wild jersey?
Those are hundreds of dollars.
Hundreds of dollars, and his friends are going to the Wild game. And they're like, hey, man, can I borrow your jersey? Sure. You can borrow my jersey. Sure, you can borrow my jersey. And he thinks to himself, why don't I just start renting out Wild jerseys? Meet Noah Beer from Prior Lake.
Like a jersey to match that hatness?
In the shadow of XL Energy Center,
It's a good idea. I think it's great.
Sits a new business dedicated to making fans feel like they're part of the team.
It seemed like there were people that want to wear jerseys to games and don't have them, and they were coming to me for it, so I just kind of piggybacked off that idea. And
Tarpsoft Jersey Rental is the brainchild of Prior Lake native Noah Beer.
you need some green to put on that blue?
People can rent one of 172 jerseys for $20 and then simply return it after the game.
What size would you wear?
Patrons can also reserve them ahead of time on their website.
You're thinking about it, that's why you're back. I know it.
Jeez.
Just renting out jerseys at $20 a pop. And it's a credit card business. So if someone doesn't return their jersey or they damage it, you get charged for the jersey.
So you've got a lot of folks going to games only a handful of times a year. Obviously, season ticket holders aren't going to go by and think, yeah, it's worth $20. But if you're going to 1, 2, or even over the course of a whole season, 5 hockey games, and you don't want to spend $300 for the real damn thing, that's brilliant. You're on your way in. You've probably already had a pop or two on the way, and so you're a little looser with the vibe.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, last time I was at the game and I was just wearing that shirt from work, I felt like a stooge. And for $20, I can go full game gear. That is brilliant.
I'm going to do it.
Let's do the same thing for $19 a game. Let's just go set up right next to him.
Oh,
that's capitalism, right?
It's capitalism, you son of a gun. How about for concerts? What about Black T-shirt? You're going to a Black Sabbath show. You just sit out there and rent your Black Sabbath. You don't have to go in and pay $150 for a Black Sabbath T-shirt that you're going to maybe wear again a couple of times. I don't know.
Yeah, the jersey's good though, man.
Yeah.
I mean, because those real ones are thick. You put that on, you're automatically looking like, no, I'm not some fly by night Wild fan. I'm committed, baby.
Yeah, they're actual jerseys too, by the way. You're meant to go over pads, so they quickly go over your.
You know what this is like?
T-shirt,
It's like
whatever.
a henna tattoo. It's not forever.
Yeah.
But you're gonna look great at that gig with that clove cigarette.
I'm a true Wild fan.
I'm gonna do it just to get a date with him. This is my kind of guy.
That's
right.
Candace's great idea. I'll just latch onto the person with the great idea. I
Yeah.
like that. That's a good way to do it too. That's even better, really.
Yeah.
That saves the pressure of you having to come up with a great idea. On the KQ Facebook page, Colin wrote his great idea was serving drinks as a psychiatrist. Which, yes, I can kind of see it.
That's called a bartender.
I had a. That's exactly what it's called. If you've got a great idea and want to share it with us, feel free. The KQ Talk and Text line, 651-989-ROCK. That bad boy's open. The KQR's Facebook page. We're taking your comments. Lori wrote, I know a lot of people that will say this, but a DoorDash type delivery thing, concierge that runs errands. I brought it up in 1986. Everyone thought I was nuts. Didn't have the technology back then. Logistics would have been a nightmare. I, too, in the year 2000, I had an absolute slam dunk concept. My wife and I lived in Brooklyn at the time, and that's where our son was born. And in the first few weeks after he was born, living in the city, you don't go to Costco. You just go to the corner market and you buy a few things at a time.
Yes.
Because you don't have a lot of space in your apartment, right? It's a different way to shop. But there's a lot of runs to the corner market. And then once we had a newborn, it's like, okay, you take care of the baby, I'll take care of you. That's kind of how it rolls. I was going to the corner store like 17 times a day because my wife would look at me and say, oh, you know what I need? And it's just like, you got it. Yes, you created a human. Thank you. I'll go get this for you. And so I started calling myself, I think she said it first. My name became Mr. Pronto. And then and in our neighborhood, everywhere I looked, there was just babies everywhere. And I thought,
That was it.
Mr. Pronto. Postnatal errand running. Who doesn't need Mr. Pronto?
Pronto.
And if I hadn't had to leave and go back on tour, I was like literally sitting at home going, this is a gold. This is
that's
gold.
a good one.
It's pure gold. And I didn't. And for a while, I kept in the back of my head. I was like a year after that. I'm like, the band's breaking up. We're done at the end of 2001. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? And I was like, I think there's still money in that Mr. Pronto idea, but I didn't have the follow through.
Right now, I'm getting the website Mr. Pronto.
Man,
I'm latching onto that for $20 a year. Yeah, my buddy Maynard, Tracy Maynard, we just called him Maynard. Was sitting around one night, and we, of course, when you're drinking and smoking, you're getting a pizza, right? Because why? I mean, when we were growing up, not you, Candace. When we were growing up, why did you order a pizza? Because that's the only thing you could order. Apparently, square boxes were the only kind of boxes they made, and you had to order a pizza because you couldn't order Taco Bell, you couldn't order McDonald's, you couldn't order a nice restaurant to bring you food. That wasn't available to you. It had to be pizza. And he's just like, I'm just tired of ordering pizza, man. I don't want pizza anymore. I wish somebody would just bring me some Burger King. We're like, well, no one's going to bring you Burger King. Well, we should just, start a business where we just bring people whatever food they want. Why does it got to be pizza? Why can't someone else deliver some other kind of food? And we laughed and took another toke and slammed a beer and ordered a couple of pizzas.
Right.
But now, they'll bring you any damn thing you want.
It's just a matter of connecting dots. That's all there is
getting
to
off
it.
the couch, putting the joint down and getting off the couch.
Tony had that. You weren't a birthday, you weren't a party clown, but you were a streaker for hire. Did that ever turn a profit?
What do you think? No profit. I did have an idea when I was a little kid, though, and I thought it was brilliant at the time that to have a mini lawnmower, like a handheld size. You can put it in your palm, but it would look like a regular lawnmower. Then I realized that they had a thing called an electric trimmer. So it wasn't as brilliant as I thought.
Yeah, that brilliant idea you have and someone else already came up with.
Wait, I'm sorry. To trim what? What are we talking about?
Yeah, to go around trees and hedges and stuff. But it would look like an actual little mini lawnmower.
Okay, I got it. Down to scale. And then somebody had to invent that damn weed eater, and then it was all bets were off. No one's ever been happier to see a weed eater than this guy, because I wasn't old enough to operate a lawnmower yet, but my job on Saturdays, as my brothers were cutting the grass, I had the hand clippers and just going around the base of trees.
Yeah.
Like.
By the way, did they really cut the grass?
No, they were
bend the grass?
ridiculous. They bent grass. I could just stomp on the grass and it would look better.
I would
use
pull it.
Scissors.
Yeah, I would just pull them, and Mom would. She had the clothesline out there. Brian, quit pulling. She has these big dirt spots around there. I'm like, well, the little clipper thing doesn't do it. Jerry, I like where you're going with this, buddy, but I'm going to think it out here just a moment more. Jerry on the KQ Facebook page, lighted tow rope for pulling tubers on the lake at night. Okay.
Oh, boy.
That sounds brilliant. However, you're pulling tubers around the
lake at night.
Boats zooming back and forth in the middle of the night out there. Who knows what's going on? That sounds like a headache waiting to happen, but I like it. My dad, used to sit around and go, why don't they have golf balls that glow in the dark, and then you could play golf at night? I'm like, it's hard enough during the day, Dad, but by God, someone came out. I remember him saying that, going, look, they've got golf balls that glow. I'm like, sorry, Dad.
I saw a 9-hole course in West Virginia, and it was like glow-in-the-dark balls, play at night, and I just thought, that's the dumbest thing I'll ever do. And, of course, I went out and had a blast. It was great.
Yeah, right.
And the obvious unspoken part of that is, you're drinking the whole time. If you're going to have a lighted tow rope for pulling tubers on the lake at night, that you should offer with that, like, first aid kits and Advil and, the whole thing.
Right.
Submit your insurance information ahead of time. Have a great time.
Are going to be, shocked by this, but my great idea is really weird.
Okay.
Does
it involve goats?
Yeah. I would love to, not just goats, but I would love to somehow bottle the scent of baby animals, because I really like the smell of goats. I don't know about other kinds of goats, but my goats smell really nice, like little baby goats. It's a nice smell. I want to bottle it up. And a nice puppy smell, new.
I guarantee you somebody could put that together. I mean, synthetically for you. There's no question about it.
The goat air fresh.
Right,
it's just nice. It's comforting.
It smells a little fresh in here. What have you got to smell up the joint?
I remember one day getting home and walking into my bedroom, and I was like, it smells like the beach. And Rosemary's like, oh, it works. And she'd found some spritzer, and it was literally like she sprayed the bed, and it's it smelled like vaguely like sea air, salt water, and suntan lotion. And I was like,
hey, that's Kramer's idea.
And I was like, yeah, but we're in the middle of the country, and there was also a matching candle, and I was like, no, it's just weird. that exists. You can go buy that crap.
Sink your toes into the shag carpet, pretend it's sand.
Yeah,
that's nice.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. That was Aerosmith with Sweet Emotion. Aerosmith famously recorded and played live and still does for years. Train Kept a Rollin'. Tip of the cap to Led Zeppelin. The first time Led Zeppelin ever got into a rehearsal room together, the four members, the first thing they ever played was Train Kept a Rollin'. And so Aerosmith was always tipping their cap to Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin themselves, three of the four members of the band still with us. Robert Plant over the weekend, for the first time in 16 years, performed Stairway to Heaven. Robert Plant on stage at a fundraiser, a benefit gig in Oxfordshire, Oxfordshire, somewhere in England. It was called the Cancer Platform Cancer Awareness Trust, organized by former Duran Duran guitarist Andy Taylor. Not a lot of household names on the bill. He was by far the biggest attraction. And he got on stage with some local guys, and they had learned the arrangement, and he played. And not the way that Robert Plant, as a solo artist, will deconstruct Zeppelin songs and play them very differently. This sounded like a pretty faithful version of Stairway to Heaven, with a little quieter than like Zeppelin would have played it. But there's clips on YouTube, on Instagram, and people have shared different things. We should probably find that and put it on the Facebook page at KQ, because it's kind of amazing, actually, to see him singing that song, just delivering the goods. And you're like, yeah, that guy never, ever, ever. In fact, after the 77 tour, Plant did not play that song until 2007, when Zeppelin had their big one-off gig in London, and this is the first time he's played it since then. So by the way I do math, we're looking at almost 50 years with 2 performances of their most iconic song.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those little notes you see, and I'm like, wait, he did what? And yeah, sure enough, he did. It's interesting. Like, there's Robert Plant singing the most iconic song, arguably, in rock history in a bar in England with, maybe 150, 200 people there.
Yeah, that's just it. These people are recording it. They're just standing there. The stage is at about eye level. I mean, you've got about a half a step of a stage there. It's not one of those. He's over there 100 yards away, highly elevated. Yeah, thank you. Whoever posted this clip, Julia Della, I'm glad you were at the show on Instagram, really got the instrumental here for us. Thanks. I'm still watching that part.
Yeah, well, hey, I'm sure that her husband's probably the guitarist. No, I'm just going to turn on my phone for the guitar solo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Georgia, the state of Georgia, not the country of Georgia, near Atlanta. Long story short, a woman came home from vacation to find that her house was no longer a house, but instead a pile of rubble.
Oh man, what a drag!
It wasn't one of those Georgia tornadoes. It wasn't an errant drunk driver. No, it was a demolition company. Someone just doing their job forgot to read the fine print, apparently.
Yeah, you talk about your jobs where it depends. Occasionally here we screw up. You hear the wrong piece of audio. There I was just playing the instrumental, but we wanted to hear Robert Plant. It was a little bit of a screw up, a mix up there. But not when you're demolishing houses. When you have like 5 people look at the address. Tony, would you come over and look at this? I just want to make sure I've got it right before we swing the ball. One more time. Yeah,
I would think.
Yeah, here is that poor lady finding out her house was demolished.
Did you hire somebody to tear your house down next door to me that's been boarded up for about 15 years? And I said, no. She said, well, there's somebody over here just demolished the whole house and tore the whole house down. He told her to shut up and mind her own business. Said, well, look, I want to see a permit or something. And he said, okay. He pulls it out and he says, oh, I'm at the wrong address. And just packs everything up and leaves. And the house is deplored down, gone.
What?
My bad.
Okay, first of all, demolished. They just demolished the house.
Years. And I said, no. She said, well, there's somebody over here just demolished the whole house.
I tell you what, man, doesn't that sound like a frozen banana stand? Oh, let's go over to demolish.
Demolish.
A little high tone. It's where you pay a bit more for a banana split.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, that's so she mentioned the house was boarded up. Now, this was not her primary residence. It's a house that she owns, and no one's lived in it for years, but she says we maintain the yard. It looks fine from the outside. It is boarded up. However, but otherwise, it's doesn't look like it's a ramshackle, house of cards. It's literally just in a neighborhood full of other houses. Been boarded up. The grounds are maintained. Taxes are paid. They had no intention of doing anything with this house, and they came back and it's gone. I wonder if the woman who called her neighbor to say, hey, your house just got demolished, I wonder if that woman used that same phone to get a photo of the guys who did this.
Yeah. Yeah, told her mind her own business. Yeah, wouldn't you? If you said, hey, are you supposed to be doing that? Wouldn't the first words out of your mouth wouldn't be, hey, shut up and mind your own business. It'd be, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and triple check this one. Oh, that's right, 79, not 97 South Maple Lane.
Oops.
on it. Oh.
Yeah, it's a good idea when you are in the demolishing houses business.
Mm-hmm.
What do? I demolish houses. If you're going to demolish houses for a living, double, triple, to your point, Zep, maybe quint, what's the word for 5 times? Check the address 5 times.
Yeah.
Get a 5-check system in place.
Imagine the cat that came expected to find a demolished house on his lot and came and it wasn't demolished and they charged him for it. Hey, I paid to have a house. It's very much on the property. You're screwing up in a lot of ways there, fellas.
So our basically good idea is maybe you should start a business where you literally read the fine print on things like that. My job is just to tell you that you're at the right house to destroy. Yeah. We're talking about great ideas people have had over the years. There's a guy from Prior Lake who is renting wild jerseys, real, like the $300, this is what the players actually wear on the ice jerseys.
Right.
He sits outside the XL Energy Center and he rents them for $20. You can walk up to him, get a jersey, wear it to the game, return it after for $20. You feel like a cool guy while you're in the game. And it's a brilliant idea. I mean, he has enough jerseys where if he rents them all, he's pulling $3,400 a game out of it, which is just outstanding.
Great.
On the Facebook page, we're asking for your brilliant get-rich-quick schemes. Karen wrote, a restaurant for parents with babies that specializes in gourmet baby food. Now, babies generally, to me, my experience is, they like what they like, but really you just want to make sure you have enough.
Yeah.
Not so much the flavor thing. I had an idea. You always hear about people who say, I just want there to be an airline just for businessmen. Or just for adults. I need an adult airline. I don't care about babies on a plane, but my idea for an airline was an airline where there's everything's checked. No carry-ons. Just no carry-ons. Get on the plane, sit down, get off the plane.
Right.
Go to baggage claim.
No.
Deal with it.
No nonsense, no
want
joking.
to.
Man, when the plane pulls up to the gate, if nobody had carry-ons, you know how fast you'd be off that thing?
Or maybe if people just knew how to just get off a plane and get their carry-on like normal.
That's not ever going to happen.
Someone takes it. I just experienced it recently. They take your overhead space. Oh, you'll have to go back a little bit further. Well, that means when I get off the plane, I've got to wait for people to deplane.
Nothing worse.
Shall I crawl over them? Can they hand me back concert style to my bag and I can get it that way? Could you have somebody bring it up to me? No.
Nothing worse.
It is a big pain in the ass. I see that. I think it's United. I just read the story this morning, is going to start boarding people now by your window. The window folks can go in first.
Yeah, we mentioned that last week, and I think that's a gross overestimation of people understanding what a window seat is from the letter. They don't know that 13A means window, and so does 13F. They'll be like, A, B, I don't know. How do you know I'm on a window? They're going to literally have to call you by name to get people who are, I just, every time I do this all the time. I'm sitting on a plane and I watch people boarding and they are looking at their ticket and then they look at the aisle number and then they walk down. They take one step and then look at their ticket, look at the aisle number, take one step. There's no way people will all know that they're on the window or in the center or on the aisle.
I've had that argument, not recently, but with a guy going, oh, you're in my seat. I'm saying, no, I'm aisle, I'm C. He goes, A, B, C, points at my seat, A, B, C. I said, no, A, B, A there. That's how the alphabet works. A, B, C, and then you see that one, D, E, F. You see how this is working? A, B. Nope, that's A right there. I said, that's dyslexic.
Yeah.
That's the alphabet backwards, stooge. Now get in the window.
Yeah, there's definitely some dyslexic travelers out there. Make no mistake about it. The confidence of someone who doesn't understand how that works, the confidence of the person falsely accusing you of being in the seat, it's one of life's most consistent situations. I've had the same thing. It's like, hey, I think you're in my seat. And the answer is always like, well, you think wrong.
Yes, think otherwise.
And you're saying, I think, with a chuckle because you don't want to embarrass me. No, I know what seat I'm in, dude. Trust me.
Yeah.
I know what 13A is. It's just unreal to me how difficult it can be. So anyway, boarding by window, then middle, then aisle, that is just a... Oh, man,
that's making it more confusing.
You're just herding cats at that point.
I still would rather not go to baggage claim, especially like coming home. I just can't. I just got to get out of there.
Well, then you know what? You are not welcome on my airline, Candace.
Oh. Well, that's just mean.
Gorman Air has one lifetime ban before we've even had a board meeting.
Wow.
Is there a dress code on Gorman Air?
Yeah, unitards. Everybody has to wear a one-piece.
Shoot.
We only allow one-piece uniforms.
I don't think we're using that word anymore, unitard.
The U word.
What about this idea? A restaurant for parents with babies that specializes in gourmet baby food.
Yeah, that's where this all started.
Yeah.
They don't know the difference between strained peas and strained carrots. And
Oh, yeah, that's right. You mentioned that one already. Coffee bags, just like a tea bag, but filled with coffee. I think we have those, don't we?
it's called Sanka. It just doesn't come in a bag.
Yeah.
Instant coffee.
Yeah, right.
And by the way, we don't mean to shoot down your brilliant ideas.
No,
if you
no.
can make one of these fly, man, I'm all for it. Chocolate-covered popcorn. Okay, that's one.
Yeah.
I can see it.
I'm all about that. There was that old, what was it? The college guys, the two college guys that'll come move you and strip for your wife in the process or something like that.
Sure.
Chipping in, that whole thing. That all started from some young college guys that were moving their parents' friends. Hey, because you always get, you get to a certain age. I'm at that age when my kids are old enough where, hey, why don't you come on over and move all this stuff? And then you start, hey, why don't you go move our friends' stuff? And they just decided to turn that into a business. Of course, that's backbreaking work, and you can only get away with it for so long. But it's kind of one of those deals, I think. I don't know.
Sure.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Monday, October the 23rd. And we are about to momentarily give away some hockey tickets. 1 hour from right now, we're going to speak with Johnny Marr, guitarist, founding member of a band called The Smiths. Incredibly influential band for generations of musicians. Out of Manchester in England in the early 80s, Johnny Marr is a guitar player. He's got an awesome book called Marr's Guitars. We're going to speak with the man. I'm very excited to do so. Big Smiths fan, big fan of Johnny Marr's playing. He has played with the Pretenders, Crowded House, 1 million people over the years. He is an absolute stellar musician and apparently just one heck of a guy. So there you have it.
Added bonus.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I missed the whole Smith thing when it came around. And then, I don't know, sometime in the middle of somewhere, music, my evolution, I went, oh, my God, that's the Smiths. Oh, they influenced this band and this band and that band and that band. Yeah, they filled a big, huge gap. If you loved music in the 1990s, it was almost certainly influenced by the Smiths in the 1980s.
No question about that. So that's in an hour from right now. We normally, an hour from now, would be talking to Robert Smith, the Vikings icon, our own Vicon, about the Vikings game. But however, because the Vikings play tonight on Monday night, we will check in with Robert Smith tomorrow. The 49ers come to town a week after losing a shocker in Cleveland, a missed field goal. Was the difference at the end. They were in position to win. Make no mistake, the Cleveland Browns defense, statistically still the greatest defense in over 50 years in terms of yards allowed and points allowed 6-7 weeks into the season. But that said, the Niners, who up to last week looked like, for my money, pound for pound, the best team in the league.
Right.
They're coming off of a loss. That's never when you want to play them. However, Monday night, traveling east a couple of time zones, you got to expect it's not going to be a pushover. I think the Vikings, you don't like to lose. You don't like to lose at night, and you certainly don't like to lose at home at night. Mm-hmm. So while the Vikings are definitely the underdog, I think we'll have a decent game.
And you see, and McCaffrey, we don't know. I think McCaffrey is pound for pound maybe the best player in the NFL these days. I mean, you just watch him, and he makes it happen for their offense in the backfield. He may not play, and we know Deebo Samuel's their great receiver. They've got more than one. We know that he's going to be out for the game as well. So a big couple of offensive weapons on the sideline can only help.
Yeah, it's definitely worth tuning in tonight. And so anyway, all this to say, tomorrow we'll recap it with our buddy Robert Smith. Right now, we've got Minnesota Wild tickets. They're playing the New Jersey Devils Thursday, November 2nd, and we would love to give away tickets to see them. We have a runner-up prize today. A gig at the Medina Entertainment Center, Zed Leplin and the Rolling Stoners, Saturday, October 28th. So no one's leaving empty-handed here today, but we've got a couple people who are ready to play, who are ready to compete for tickets. Tony, what are we playing?
Let's go to it with this. Yes, we love TV. TV is our friend.
Yes, it is.
But the choices are overwhelming sometimes for entertainment. The scrolling can go on forever. So we're going to present to you a title and a brief description of the plot. Then you decide, is it an actual movie that has been seen or you can see on a streaming TV platform, or is it something that was made up?
I like
Just
it.
a fakie.
I like it. We did this last week. It was quite entertaining. So fair enough. Let's rock it and roll it. Candace, who's caller number one?
We have Denise from Savage.
Denise, good morning.
Good morning.
How's your day so far?
It's been good.
Good.
So far.
All right, good. Are you a Minnesota Wild fan?
I am.
Well, that's great. You're in the right place. 2 tickets sitting here on the table. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, Denise, number one, TV or not TV. Howard the Duck, a humanoid duck alien is sent to Earth, plays rock guitar, does the nasty with a human woman, and as a topper, saves the world.
So I'm guessing if it's a movie or TV?
Yeah, is it real or not?
No, is it real or not?
It's not.
Oh.
You wouldn't think so.
Wait.
Sorry.
Oh,
no,
all right.
it is. That is real. It fooled myself.
I thought I just had a horrible, horrible dream.
No, Howard
Yeah.
the Duck,
Howard
1986.
It was very much real. That's right.
It's a George Lucas bomb.
Yeah.
The lovely Leah Thompson graced it, though.
Oh. Bless
How
her.
about that? Number two, Hand of God. In a dystopian future, to potentially win $10 million, contestants must continually clap their hands and continue to clap constantly until the final and bloody round of applause comes after a xylophone contest performed in an enormous suburban Chinese buffet.
Not real?
Yes, that would be.
Boy, I'm with you, Denise. You're like, I hope that's not real.
Number three is Mannequin. A lovable loser wanders around malls alone, gets a job in a department store, then falls in love with a mannequin who comes to life as an ancient Egyptian beauty.
That is real.
It is. Andrew McCarthy and Kim Cattrall, 1987.
Oh.
What a gem.
A gem. I thought that was the 80s. God, yeah.
All right, your last one, number four, Fiddle-Dee-Dee, It's a Killing Spree. A violin-playing maniac terrorized the streets of Nashville, stalking his victims while dressed as a dentist.
I'll say real.
I know, that is made up. I'm so sorry, dear.
Man, we wanted that one to be real.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stay tuned.
Denise, you went 2 for 4, which around here is pretty darn good for TV or not TV. So congrats to you. Hang on. We're going to see what caller number 2 is able to do in their round. Who is caller number 2, Candace?
Jeff from Maple Grove.
Jeff, good morning.
Good morning.
You a Wild fan, Jeff?
Didn't want to commit.
Man, we
Do you occasionally
always
get wild? Or
we appreciate your honesty, sir.
not renting a jersey, I guess.
We've got Wild tickets right here on the table, so you're in. You're locked in. You're going to play for them whether you want them or not, so good luck to you.
All right, mister. Number one, Good Dog Ron. After an unexpected glitch in the system and a parody campaign that goes viral, a huge Rottweiler becomes a senator.
That is not.
It is not. Nope, but it could happen.
Good dog,
Oh, yeah,
Ron.
good.
Number two, The Hottie and the Naughty. A guy runs into his first crush from elementary school on the beach, but she won't date him unless her hideous friend gets a date too. The ugly friend gets a makeover, and the guy realizes he's more in love with her than his first crush.
That is a movie or a show.
It is 2008, starring Paris Hilton.
It's also the template for every
Right.
show about a yeah. Oh, man. Someone finally said, "Let's using this as an outline. Let's just do it straight up." All right, Paris Hilton missed that one. Probably
So
not going to
sorry.
go back and make up for lost time with that one either.
Number 3, Meatloaf with the Mob. Chicago hitmen dispose of their target bodies at a butcher shop, grind up their remains, and serve them on the menu while running a romantic bed and breakfast outside the city.
No, that is not a show.
It ain't.
Wow.
Again, Shocktober. What a great B-movie horror film plot.
Jeez.
One more for you, sir. I Love You, Alice B. Toklas. A straight-laced lawyer falls for his brother's hippie girlfriend and her potent pot brownies and ditches his corporate life to live on a commune, but realizes the free wheel in life might not suit the suit that he is.
That is a show or a movie.
It was a movie starring Peter Sellers.
You know what I honestly thought? I thought to myself, geez, 3 not reels in a row. Tony, really going with the not real here, pitching them.
Jeez.
How old is that? Peter Sellers.
1968.
Oh.
I recognized the name when you said that. I was like, yeah, I don't have no idea what that's about, but yeah, I've heard of that before. All right, well, Jeff, you went 4 for 4, brother. So you swept the table. You've got tickets to see The Wild and the Devils Thursday, November 2nd. Denise, for you, dear, we have Zed Leplin and the Rolling Stoners Saturday, October 28th at the Medina Entertainment Center. Thanks to both of you. Have a great time.
Thank you.
You got it. How much do you think Jeff's going to flip those tickets for?
Yeah, right. They're sweet tickets, Jeff. You'll get a couple of bucks. And to help you out a little bit, you've got in that suite, our suite, you're in the attack zone for 2 of those periods, 1 and 3. So
you could do a lot worse.
Sweet tickets.
You could do a lot worse. Referenced something earlier in the show. Check this out. Artificial intelligence, that terrifying thing that honestly 99% of us don't even know what it is. We just hear about, I did this with AI. I don't know if artificial intelligence is an app. ChatGPT, is it an app? Is it you do buy your own computer that just does that? And by the way, I'm not looking for information. I don't want to know. If I'm not using it, I don't care. I don't think it's for me. I talk on a microphone and I hit stuff with sticks. I don't need AI. That's how I look at it, right?
Right.
However, there is the occasional story you read and you go, oh, well, okay, I guess I'm not going to freak out. This isn't necessarily a Ray Bradbury novel just yet about the dangers of artificial intelligence, because check this out. There's an AI program that is able to diagnose diabetes, or if you prefer, diabetes, in about 90% of patients, simply by listening to them speak for 10 seconds.
What?
Yeah. You hear about dogs that can sniff out cancerous cells in humans.
Right.
There's an AI program. Researchers had patients record phrases on their smartphones 6 times a day for 2 weeks. And they found that signal processing technologies were able to perceive notes of vocal pitch that don't register with the human ear that indicate diabetes.
Diabetes.
Exactly.
Thank you, Wilford.
That is incredible.
How would you determine that?
That's big brain stuff right there. Because I'm thinking to myself, what do you slur your speech a little? I don't know.
I don't know,
but that's a pitch thing. You talked about a pitch we can't hear.
Yeah, somebody's going to put an AI program on this show, and then we'll start getting little things on our phone. It'll be like exaggeration.
Right.
Wrong date.
Yeah, right. We don't need that.
Wrong
Diabetes.
Yeah, I don't need to be fact-checked. That's the last thing I need.
You've told this story 7 times this year. Oh, come on, stop it.
Repetition.
And you said it was your uncle, not your aunt. Yeah, it's going to be ridiculous.
Well, they said, I was reading recently that AI will provide us with our first, I don't think us, right, 3-day work weeks. In other words, AI will be able to do so much for humanity in the next, and this is the shocking part, not 20 years, in the next 5 years, 3 to 5 years, will do so much for humanity that most people will get away with being able to work 3 days. Now, listen, there's a lot of variables that go into this, and I didn't read far enough into the article to understand why are we getting paid for, a 5 or a 6 day work week and only working 3? Is AI ponying out? Are they paying some of my bills as well? But kind of scary where this stuff can go, I guess. I don't know.
I'd like to think that we'd get fully paid for that. That's just me. Halloween's right around the corner.
Yeah.
Halloween
That was a weird noise.
That is a weird noise.
Some feedback, I think.
Okay, Halloween is right around the corner. Candace, how many Halloween events will you attend?
Oh, well, Steve. Probably,
Roughly,
Saturday.
ballpark.
I mean, I'm going to dress up on Saturday, have a party, and go out and do stuff. And then, probably not going to do anything on Sunday. So probably just Saturday and Tuesday.
Well, now, will you have the same costume for both, or will you go in different costumes?
No, God, no,
Okay,
no.
silly question.
What's the matter with you?
Silly question. Well, you are not a member of the SAG-AFTRA union, I'm assuming. You're not on strike as an actor, as a member of the guild. So you can wear whatever you like. Members of SAG-AFTRA have been told by their union, these are the actors that are striking in Hollywood, they do not want you to wear costumes of characters that are in movies that are shown this year.
Well,
Barbie and Ken, superheroes. They're like, we need to be in solidarity with strikers. We don't want to promote major studio content without a fair contract. So if you're in the union, they don't want you dressing as Barbie or Ken.
Right.
No Wednesday Addams action.
What about the 25 million kids out there that, I mean, really?
That's fine. They're not in the union. That's fine.
I don't
they can
think
do it.
they're, I know, but I'm just saying, are the Hollywood elite and the costumes they're wearing at their costume parties, is that influencing us? I don't know, whatever.
I think when I see Hollywood elite costume parties, they're usually really extravagant. They're not going with this standard, I'm going to be the mother of dragons, Daenerys Targaryen. No, it's like that, whatever it is. They generally have things like the most mind-boggling. They truly look like a walking chili dog and stuff because they get some weird costumer to make their costumes. But anyway, it's just a public service announcement. If you're in the union, don't dress in these costumes. Okay, we don't want to get you in trouble.
Call my SAG-AFTRA buddies after the show and just make sure they're hip to that. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. 30 minutes from now, we're going to be speaking with Johnny Marr, great guitarist of the Smiths. He's got a new book out called Marr's Guitars. If you're a guitar player or a guitar enthusiast on any level, this book will be worth your while. I look very forward to speaking with Johnny Marr. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., we will be speaking with Robert Smith, the former Viking great, as we do once a week after a Vikings game. We want to get Robert's insight into what he sees and what he thinks might be, in the grand scheme ahead for the Vikings. A big game tonight at U.S. Bank Stadium as the San Francisco 49ers. That's as good a team as we've seen in the league so far when they're clicking anyway. They come in tonight for a very important game for the Vikings as they're still, completely not out of it. They still have a division. I mean, after after in this division, the Packers are not great. The Bears are a grease fire. And the Lions, who everybody was thinking is, the pride of the NFC, all of a sudden, they went to Baltimore yesterday and got shellacked. So anybody can beat anybody. And divisions being what they are, the Vikings are still very much in the conversation for the postseason, as crazy as that might sound. A win tonight would go a hugely long way towards turning the Vikings around. After today, the Vikings schedule is as easy as anybody has in the league.
Right.
So, stranger things have happened.
And you talk about, the lowly North. The North isn't doing well, and it's up and down.
Yep.
They're not the only division in football this year like that. But you beat a 49er. Listen, the 49ers are undoubtedly Super Bowl contenders. They're in that conversation. So you beat them today. You put yourself in the playoff mix, playing out the rest of the season and get a couple, get one from Detroit and one back from Green Bay and that sort of thing. And then, then who knows? You might have something to talk about here. But they got to be able to beat a team like San Francisco before they're, because we don't want to see it's like the Twins this year, right? They finished well in their division. They won their division. But, they in the big picture, they kind of sucked, and they didn't get very far in the playoffs. Yeah. So, you got to beat a 49ers team if we're going to start talking Super Bowl. Easy.
But along the way, of course, as is always the case with every team on every Sunday, you better have some good quarterback play. You gotta get a good night out of Kirk. Now he's had good nights. No, God knows there are times when my man will let it rip. And well, Tony, you've got something you wanted to share around Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, well, Kirk revealed the possible secret that inspired the win last week, and if they aim to upset the Niners, they'll want to tap into this again.
Made sure that Creed got played before we went out in the field, and I felt like that may have made the difference. So
now I've been known as the Creed guy, and many times I'll say,
oh, that's an instant classic.
Kirk.
Oh.
Wow.
That doesn't fill me with any confidence, and it's made the season somehow a little sadder, but definitely more entertaining. And
man, the twisted
funny.
mind of Tony Lee. Beautiful.
Sometimes you just are what you are.
God
come
on. Who
bless
do we know at ABC? We got to get that on the broadcast tonight.
Yeah.
Just get wide open. We got to get someone's got to play that at the stadium at least.
Oh, Kurt.
That's incredible. So
his wife dresses him, huh?
Best of luck. He's going to close down the Applebee's. That's pretty strong.
He's going to check down.
There's another quarterback I want to tell you a quick story about. Some of you will remember the name Todd Marinovich.
Sure.
Yeah.
Raiders,
Todd Marinovich, yep. Mm-hmm. Todd Marinovich, Candace, and anybody else who doesn't know, was basically a figurative test tube baby for NFL quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. His dad played college football and briefly played professional football. Blew his own body out by overtraining. He was too heavy, too muscular. This guy named Marv Marinovich was like obsessed with the weight room, and it actually hampered his career. And when he had a son, he decided, well, I'm going to raise him in the perfect environment. I'm going to raise, like from the day of birth, everything's going to be geared towards building the perfect quarterback. And in fact, when his wife was pregnant, she was not allowed. She did not have any salt, sugar, alcohol, tobacco. As a baby, the baby only ate fresh vegetables, fruits, and raw milk. I mean, like literally from gestation on, I'm building the perfect quarterback. It went kind of well over the top. And for a while it worked. Like up through high school, Todd Marinovich was like the greatest high school quarterback the world has ever seen. This is a kid who, when he started at the University of Southern California, had never eaten a Big Mac or an Oreo or a Ding Dong. He would go to birthday parties as a kid, bring his own cake and ice cream to avoid sugar and refined white flour. He ate homemade ketchup, which was prepared with honey, never ate beef. He was just, when he was teething, they gave him frozen kidney and liver. I mean, it's,
Yeah, right.
And again, when that's all the kid knows, that's fine. He hits the campus of University of Southern California and all of a sudden goes off the grid. He's smoking weed. He's listening to rock music. Yeah. It's like everything you would expect to have happen. Now, that said, he was so talented that he was able to make it into the NFL for a brief period of time. Famously, while a student at USC, one of his quotes was, "I don't want to be Todd Marinovich." Like there's just a guy was struggling. Makes it to the, at that time, Los Angeles Raiders as the starting quarterback. He's in his early 20s. He's starting for the Raiders. Now, where is this story going? It's going to a venue in LA called the Greek Theater, where I played on this day 31 years ago, 1992. It was a Friday night, and we played, I think it was the third of 3 nights at the Greek Theater, and we heard Todd Marinovich is coming to the gig. Big music fan, loves the Black Crowes. And he was already getting into trouble. He had already sort of run afoul of a couple of rules at USC, and then even with the Raiders, he was up and down. But we're all like, oh, that's cool. He's the starting quarterback for the LA Raiders. He's going to come see our band. The guy shows up at the show, comes into the dressing room before the show, and his pupils are the size of dinner plates.
Hello.
He is tripping balls like very few people you've ever seen.
Oh, it is a Black Crow show.
But he is able to communicate a little bit. And, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, you're Todd Marinovich. You're a starting quarterback in the NFL, and you are just flying. Friendly guy, all good. We go down to play the show. In the middle of our set, there's a song called Thorn of My Pride, and there's a long intro jam where it's by design with the light show. It's just for everybody who's out there stoned. It's going to really kind of blow your mind a little bit. It's just a swirling lights, and the music is going crazy. Uh-oh. And he's watching from the side of the stage, and I am watching him, and he's a big guy. He's an NFL quarterback. Yeah. and he's looking at our lights, and he's just like, and he just follows the lights, walks right out onto the stage, walks right to the middle of the stage. Our singer looks at him like, what the? And no one knows what to do. Right. And he goes over in front of our organ player, Eddie, and he lays down on his back on the stage, and he's staring up at the lights, and the look on his face is like a kid on a roller coaster, literally. And I'm playing the kit, and I'm pounding away, and it's this really loud, and I'm like, and right to my left on the floor, laying spread eagle, and just a face of just pure bliss. Like it's like that Soar ride at Disney where you're like, you feel like you're in a hang glider. He is just like, he's making noise. And then the band, and then it comes to, and like me and our singer are the only ones that know he's there. Like no one else is. Everyone's just looking down, rocking out. And then the song kind of dies down. It gets kind of quiet as we're about to go into the actual tune, "Thorn of My Pride." And I'm looking over at like guy on the side of the stage. I'm like, someone get him out of here. And then security comes out. They like creep out on stage. It's dark. It's not like he's not like got a spotlight on him or anything.
Right.
And they're like, let's go, man. And they're trying to get him to sit up. And he's taking forever. And then they finally, two giant like house security guys, they get him by his arms. And they're both like, it's the starting quarterback for the Raiders. Like they don't want to. If it had been a fan, he'd been thrown out on his ass.
Don't want to hurt him.
And they very gently lead him off stage, and it was just the weirdest thing. Like I'm thinking, this is wow.
Plus, if his trip goes bad, you've got a bionic man up there, a prototype, physically freaking out.
And so then the show ends. We go up to the dressing room. Everyone's like, man, and by that time, I'm like, do you guys even know what happened during the Thorn Jam? And everyone's like, no. And I'm telling the rest of the guys in the band, we're in our dressing room for 2 minutes. The door opens, and he walks in. He's still there. I had just figured he was gone.
Yeah.
He comes in, he's like, hey, what's up? And we're all like, hey, man, you okay? Are you okay? He's like, yeah. And so, again, this all goes back to earlier in the show, Mike Evans referenced Pink's Hot Dogs, legendary hot dog stand in L.A.
Yeah.
And that night, somebody brought in a giant order from Pink's for post-show food.
That's awesome.
Okay? So I open up a thing called the Bacon Burrito Double Dog. It's 2 hot dogs wrapped in bacon, smothered in chili in a tortilla, like a burrito.
So turned on right now.
It is the best thing you could ever eat. And I sit down to take a bite, and Marinovich sits down right next to me, and he's just staring at me and it. And I'm not kidding. His eye, he is so, he's still tripping like crazy. And I go, are you hungry? And he's like, no, man, I can't eat. I said, okay. And then I take a bite, and he is staring at my mouth and watching me chew the way only a guy on a lot of acid can do. And I'm just like, I start moving it really slowly, and I'm barely chewing. And I took like 11 minutes to eat this thing, and he never blinked. He stared at me the whole time, and he was just going like, whoa. And then at some point, somebody, like the people he was with, they finally are like, Todd, there you are. Like they've been looking for him. They go, hey, we got to get him out of here. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Again, this is a Friday night in October. He started a football game 2 days later.
Oh, yeah.
Was taken out at halftime and never played again in the NFL.
Seriously, that was
it was his last ever start.
No kidding.
He made it to halftime. And I promise you, there's no way he wasn't still kind of tripping with as much as he had on Friday night.
He got under center in that game thinking about a double, what was it, burrito?
I think it's called the Bacon Burrito Double Dog.
Yeah.
It was really, really something. And then very famously went off the rails and nothing funny about it, but got his life together, pretty much disowned his dad, who had divorced his mom, married a much younger woman, and did the whole thing all over again with another kid.
Jeez.
Just like his older brother, Todd. There's another Marinovich that was a high school All-American who flamed out when he got to college, I think. Just a crazy story. And he's now kind of like a motivational speaker. He's, for the most part, clean and sober. And he just had this bizarre life where he was raised to be this perfect athlete. Yeah. But I'd like to say that to Raiders fans, sorry we blew your quarterback out.
God.
what might have been.
Man,
I remember.
Sorry, Zep, I'll just cap it with. But don't you wish Cousins would do that at a gig this week? Don't you wish there'd be a report that, like, next summer, Foo Fighters at Target Field and Kirk Cousins was wandering around on acid? Wouldn't you feel better if that was? I think just if most quarterbacks know, but Cousins, give him one good acid trip.
Just once.
Once.
I said, like middle of last season, I said the guys on the team have a responsibility to take. Hey, let's just take you out to dinner and get him messed up and take him down to a strip club. Just take him completely out of his comfort zone.
Oh yeah.
Shatter this little paradigm, this little safety bubble that he lives within, and I don't know, makes it up. It can't possibly hurt. I didn't think, but who knows? Like Kirk Cousins might be a motivational speaker these days.
Yeah, we'll see.
We don't know. Guitar icon, co-founder of the Smiths, very excited. Johnny Marr of the Smiths is going to join us. He's got, I think about these classic guitars. I was kind of flipping through. They sent us a PDF version of his book, and I'm going through, and it's like classic cars. I really don't know much about them. I know there's an engine in there. They've got 4 wheels, but they're classic. But it's muscle, and I go to every damn car show I can possibly go to. I feel the same way about guitars. Excited that our guest, Johnny Marr, is going to be with us here at 9 o'clock. Hang tight.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS. Zep, Tony, Candace, and Steve Gorman are the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Monday, October the 23rd. That was, of course, Pink Floyd, Have a Cigar, a song sung by not David Gilmour, not Roger Waters, but Roy Harper, of all people.
Oh, yeah, old Roy.
Roy Harper, the subject of, on Led Zeppelin 3, there's a song called Hats Off to Roy Harper.
Yeah.
Folk musician, guy on the scene in London. Everybody knows Roy Harper. He's one of those cats. And Pink Floyd was recording Have a Cigar, and Roger Waters' voice was shot. He'd been singing Shine On You Crazy Diamond. David Gilmour didn't want to sing it, and Roy was down the hall, and they were like, well, just get Roy to sing it. He'll do it. And he came in and was like, yeah, man, let's let her rip. And then, of course, Have a Cigar. It's a parody of a record company executive. Pink Floyd was never happy dealing with record company executives. And they loved the fact that they went to the label and said, yeah, we want this to be the first single. And oh, by the way, the guy singing's not even in our band. That's good Pink Floyd shtick right there is what that's called. Yeah. That's the way it sounds to me anyway. In a few moments, we're going to be joined by Johnny Marr, the founding guitarist, the principal songwriter, the genius behind the band The Smiths. I know Morrissey gets, as singers tend to do, an awful lot of the attention, but Morrissey and Marr were definitely one of those, singer-songwriter, guitarist combos. And for a certain era of music, early 80s, mid 80s, what was then called indie rock as opposed to alt rock, legitimately independent-minded bands doing independent things. The Smiths, along at time frame wise, with REM, with the Replacements, with so many great bands all around the world that were just kind of busting out of the shadows and doing things their own way. Johnny Marr, the great guitarist, has a book out called Marr's Guitars. He is a guitar collector, an influential and very impactful guitarist for generations since. Most notably, another Manchester, a Manc named Noel Gallagher grew up worshiping at the altar of Johnny Marr. And they've got a great relationship. They've worked together. Johnny Marr's worked with everybody. Anyway, he's calling in a minute. Yeah. His book is available tomorrow. If you are a guitar fan, whether you know his music or not, the book is incredible. We're looking through the PDF of it. Beautiful guitars, beautiful shot, and fascinating stories for each.
And I love when they talk about them and use words I don't know what they're talking about, but it has its own language. But you certainly know Johnny Marr's sound. I mean, it was inescapable. Like the great guitarist, he had his own sound. Bob used to call it like they've invented their own color. He had his own sound that would have showed up on, very popular things that many of us grew up with, like the Pet Shop Boys and the Talking Heads and Brian Ferry and those types of artists. So you certainly don't know it if you're not a Smith enthusiast like myself. I got to the Smiths long after their sound had greatly influenced much of the music that I loved. I went, oh, that's where the influence, where it all came from. So I did it backwards. But
they were lumped in with early REM more than anybody else. There's the American Smiths or there's the British REM, depending on who you were talking to. And at a time when I was an REM fanatic, I had not gotten into the Smiths yet. On their third album, The Queen is Dead, is when I jumped in. And that was at a time when, if you got there for the third album, you felt like, oh my God, I've missed it, And then it turned out I did, because they were touring on their third album, The Smiths. I had tickets to see them in Nashville, and 2 days before the show, they canceled the tour, flew back to England, and never returned. They broke up the next year, so I never saw The Smiths.
Bollocks.
Yeah, it was some bollocks. Make no mistake about it. In the meantime, we're waiting for a phone call from Johnny. He's running late. The San Francisco 49ers are in town. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings tonight at U.S. Bank Stadium. Has anybody here ever been to a Monday night football game?
I have been to a couple of Monday night football games right here in good old Minnesota at the Metrodome, never the U.S. Bank Stadium. I know they've had a game or two at U.S. Bank Stadium on Monday night, but I've been to a couple, and now don't ask me to channel the Gorman memory powers, because I don't remember what they were, but I do remember one was the Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers many years ago.
Oh, wow.
Steelers ended up winning it in kind of a close game, and I'm just trying to remember some of the highlights. But yeah, Monday night, because it's a whole different vibe. It's Monday night. It's just inside the stadium. Players talk about it's Monday night.
Well, that's where I was going. I've been to several over the years. I would be on tour, have a Monday night off in a town where there was a game. I've never been to my team's Monday night game, but I saw the Eagles and the Redskins. I saw the Jets and the Jaguars. There was another one on the West Coast. It was no games I cared about, but because it's Monday night, go to the game. It's the one time in the NFL where it honestly feels like you're at a college game. Yeah, I mean, it's a different vibe, different tailgating, different everything, but it's just there's an added charge to the fact that everybody in the stadium knows this is the only game on. Everyone's watching at home. Night football's just cool. It really is a thing. It's a vibe. And so anybody going to the game tonight, it's as insane as those games are, as loud as it is at U.S. Bank, it's going to be more of everything. I'm kind of envious. I thought about trying to track down a ticket, and then I was like, who am I kidding? I'll go there. I'll be exhausted. I'll show up here Tuesday. My voice will be gone. Right. So I'm gonna sit and watch as much as I can from the comfort of a quiet room. But for anyone going, man, it's going to be awesome. It really is supercharged football.
Won an event years ago. I won a contest from the cable company, and I won a Vikings jacket, which is super cool, and 50-yard line seats to go see the Vikes play the Bears on Monday night. And they won on a Chris Carter walk-off 50-yard TD.
Oh, beautiful.
Unbelievable.
Phenomenal.
Well, think about when we were growing up, it was, there's so much televised now in Thursday night games, with the Monday night games and Sunday night football. When we were growing up, there was the Super Bowl, there were the playoff games, and then there were the Monday night games that were nationally televised, that drew a national audience. And the players still talk about it. You do not want to be embarrassed in front of a national audience. Bad enough in your own, your own town, the team you're playing with. But yeah, so as a football fan growing up, Monday night was its own playoff game each week. And if you could go to one of those games, you weren't going to the Super Bowl, most likely. You might get in a playoff game or a few in your life. But Monday night, it's right up there. It still is.
Those games initially, too. In the 70s, Monday Night Football was such a unique and special thing, not just because you had Howard Cosell and Dandy Don and all that. Two things that I always think about, not the night John Lennon was killed, but the night John Lennon sat in with Howard Cosell at halftime of a game, going back to 74, 75. And Cosell famously told the story. He was in the booth, and a producer came up and said, "We've got a couple people for halftime. Do you want to talk to Ronald Reagan, who was then the governor of California? Ronald Reagan's here, and so's John Lennon." And Cosell said, "Give me the Beatle."
He's not done.
It's like, great. There's a governor of California, but this is a nationwide audience, and there's a Beatle in the house. And so he interviewed Lennon there. The other memory I have, because I remember seeing that. I was a kid, and just watching John Lennon be interviewed at a time, I was like, wow, I can't even make sense of what's happening. The other thing I always remember, it was a Houston Oilers game, and it was late in the game, and the Oilers are getting either killed or they're killing someone. But there was a long shot of a section of the stadium, and they were talking about how it was a poorly attended game. And there's just one guy, a balding dude with the comb over by himself, and the camera they just show them, and like Don Meredith is like, and there's one fan out there, he's sticking it out, and the guy looks, and you can only imagine the camera must be on the other side of the Astrodome. It's all the way across the stadium, but he recognizes that camera facing me has a red light on it, and the guy just puts his hand up with a full bird.
Oh, awesome!
And it was like for a solid 3 seconds, this guy's just barely moving, bored to tears, and he's like, "Oh yeah, here you go, America."
Yeah.
And as a kid in the 70s, you just didn't see stuff like that. And my brothers, we were on the floor, man. That guy was our hero.
I'm sure.
Like, you got to be kidding me.
I'm sure it lit up the switchboard as well for ABC, but they were.
It.
But that the guy in the switch room was like, "Yeah, just let it hang for a second and go to camera 2."
That's it.
Yeah, why not?
And scene. By the way, while we're waiting for Johnny Marr, we saw this the other day, and I meant to get around to it. Zep, it's a list of things. Actually, you know what? I think he's probably on the horn right now, so I'm not going to go to that.
All
right. Johnny Marr, guitarist of the Smiths, founded that band as a kid. I mean, they were young men. I'm getting the shake off.
Oh,
hey, he's a busy man.
Whoops.
He's a busy man. All right, you know what? I can go into my Smiths lunacy anytime. I don't have to do that right now. I'm going to go back to what I was talking about, Zep. So it was a list really quickly, things that convey authority in the workplace.
Okay.
It's a list. These things, if you want to have any of these around, it's going to convey your authority. Number 1, your diploma. I'm looking around the studio. I don't see any diplomas here. Did any of us graduate from anywhere of note?
I lied that I graduated from Brown Institute, which was a broadcasting institute here for a long time.
Yeah.
A lot of Tony, did you go to Brown?
No, I did not. Candace Wheeler and I are both grads of the University of Minnesota Journalism School.
You went to a real university. Yeah.
Go Golf.
But anyway, yeah. But I dropped out of Brown 2 weeks before I was supposed to graduate, so I lied on it. So no, didn't get that diploma.
Well, if you have one, it does demonstrate apparently ability, pride, and confidence. But don't put it center stage on your wall here at your workplace, though. You know what else is helpful to convey authority in workplace? A family photo, because it defines who you are.
All right, I'm going to pick one up today. I'll just look for a good-looking family. Tony, can I use one of yours?
Yes, you may. I have so many.
Oftentimes, the one that comes in the frame is way better than anything you're going to find in your own house.
Oh, yeah. Those people are beautiful.
Check this out. Number 3. This is an honest-to-God thing from like a business magazine. Number 3, a dumbbell. Set it. It says
no.
Set
Did you
it on
douchebag?
Set it on the floor in full view. It says to your coworkers, I take my health as seriously as the company's.
No,
that's
it doesn't.
Ron Burgundy doing curls in his office.
Yeah.
500, what way? 490, 500. Oh, just giving the old gun show a workout. Yeah.
I mean, I do know this. When I have flamed out both the biceps and the triceps, my voice sounds even better.
Of course.
I was in my 20s the D-bag that would put the dumbbells out in the living room when you knew that you were bringing a date over. You know, the big ones, the like 40-pounders, just set them right there by the television. Sure, yeah.
I saw one time Monsters of Rock Tour 1991. The first show of that tour in Europe was at Castle Donington, famous site of many a great concert in England. The bill was AC/DC, Metallica, Motley Crue, Queensryche, Black Crowes. That was the bill for the day. Not a bad afternoon and evening of rock.
Hell no.
Motley Crue, nicest guys in the world, by the way. I mean, because I'm first time meeting them, and they're crazy. It's Motley Crue. I'm expecting them to be like, you see Nikki Sixx come in, you're like, is he going to break a bottle over my head? And they're like, couldn't be, hey, dude, what's up? All right, hey. Like, wow, they're really great guys. And before the show, outside their trailer, they're like on in 10 minutes, and Vince Neil's got the dumbbells out, and he's doing the bicep curls and getting the guns ready.
Yeah.
And I was kind of being like a jerk, I think. I don't think. I was like, that's your, no vocal prep? Just get the arms ready? And he laughed. He goes, vocal prep? Have you ever heard me sing? I got to do something. Like, he was totally thought it was funny, too. But he's just cranking those things. And then, of course, he sets them down. And I'm like, man, the arms look pretty good. Got to give him credit. That's a good tip for a pre-show.
I don't want to call you out on a story you may not want to tell, but since you brought up Motley Crue touring with them, was that the tour then? You got to tell the Tommy Lee story where he comes out, it's going to be a good show. You know which one I'm talking about?
I do, yeah. How do I say this on the air? He walked out of the backstage. There's trailers, but then there was like porta-johns, but they were nice ones for the artists. They were, a little They were not substandard. They were better, whatever a little higher level.
Yeah.
And he came out and it was Nicky came out and did his business, had done his business, and he brought out with him a piece of the paper, the cloth that he had used to wipe himself.
Oh.
That was tarnished, if you will. And he stuck it to the side of the porta-john, and it stayed there. It didn't drop.
Yeah.
And Tommy said, we're going to have a great show. That was their weather vane for gig vibe. If Nikki's soiled tissue stuck to the wall and didn't fall, they were going to have a better show.
Outstanding.
And I mean, who knows what the origin of that is. All bands have their own internal language and world and universe and shtick and things that don't make sense. But they did that in full display of a lot of people. And we're all just standing there in absolute disbelief. And they run off to the stage. And it was great. And Brian Johnson, the singer of AC/DC, was like, I don't know if those boys are going to make it. It was like, I don't feel good about this. That was a weird one. Okay, so the dumbbells one. Here's another thing for the office. It conveys authority. A map or a globe. It demonstrates you're a big picture thinker. By the way, I'll let our listeners know if any of these things are anywhere here at KQ. So far, we got nothing.
No.
A signed anything, just an autographed anything. It conveys importance through association. A set of something, encyclopedias, rare books, whatever. It shows a focused and curious mind.
Yeah.
We've got some sound effect CDs from the 80s.
Yeah, exactly, that have not been used since the 80s. Yeah, we have.
How about this? This is something, this is kind of funny, actually. A ticking clock. A ticking clock in your office says, I am important and I'm busy.
Oh, man. What jobs are these? Who are these people?
I'm not really
out there?
sure, but I can tell you what's cooler than any of that stuff is being a guy like Johnny Marr who has a book coming out that's ready for an interview, and we just got word they're knocking on his hotel door, and if he wakes up, he'll call. I don't miss much about life on the road, but I love when people used to say things like that about me. We can't seem to wake him up. Now I'm up at 4 a.m. like a schnuck. All right, screw it. We may or may not be joined by Johnny Marr. We'll see how that goes.
While you get your diploma up there on the wall, Mr. Gorman. I'm checking some headlines here. Minnesota Vikings, of course, San Francisco 49ers in town. The 49ers headline this morning, Christian McCaffrey is expected to play tonight.
That's unfortunate.
That's a bummer. And then the Minnesota Viking main headline this morning just came out 4 hours ago, ESPN. Where will Kirk Cousins go in 2024? That's where the seasons are at right now for these two. But we have, if you didn't hear it an hour ago, and especially if you heard it an hour ago, you're going to want to be here at 9:30 for one of the great Tony tunes of all time, picking on our beloved, or is he, Kirk Cousins at 9:30. Hang tight.
I lift weights.
It's the KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.
I'm Steve Gorman. This is the KQ Morning Show. It is Monday, October 23rd, Monday Night Football, U.S. Bank Stadium tonight. Kirk Cousins will lead the Vikings against the San Francisco 49ers. If you missed it, last week's win over the Bears, largely because of the inspiration the team received from the band Creed. And with that in mind, our own Tony Lee whipped up a little something special. We'd like to play it for you right now without further...
I hear something new every time.
Yeah, pretty incredible right there.
Yeah.
That's going on tonight at the U.S. Bank Stadium. Hey, we mentioned Johnny Marr, the great guitarist, has a book out called Marr's Guitars. It's available everywhere yesterday. And better late than never, Johnny Marr now joins us on the KQ Morning Show for a quick hit. Johnny, good morning, sir. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, no, it's nice to talk to you, yeah. Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. Let's get to this. Marr's Guitars, which we all had a chance to preview and look through. First of all, the photographs are beautiful. And the story you tell with each guitar, as a longtime fan of your work, it's pretty mind-boggling to me. Where did this all start? Did you grow up, were there guitars laying around the house when you were a kid?
No, I had this weird obsession about this little toy one that was in a window of a shop that sold brooms and buckets and those kind of things. This was would have been in the late 60s. I was 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were real very Irish. I come from a very Irish background. They're still Irish, and they were real music freaks. But I only saw this toy guitar, as I say, and I carried that thing around like the way my pals carried around footballs and toy trucks and all of that stuff. So I really don't know where that came from. But then the next one I got, the first proper one that I could play chords on and try and learn to copy my heroes, I got that when I was like eight or nine. I think I was 8, and then I was off. Really, I had no other vision other than to try and be a musician, and I just would have been a guitar player, like whatever happened, really.
Right. Johnny Marr's with us on the KQ Morning Show. And as the book goes along, as I said, for anyone that's a fan, specifically of the earliest stuff with the Smiths, when you're talking about a guitar, you wrote this song on this particular guitar. You played this on a certain track. And I want to ask you about that. Did you generally, with all of these guitars on different sessions and writing, do you go into the studio with an idea already in your head of what tone you're looking for, or do you get in there and find one and then recognize that's what will fit this song that I have?
That's a good question. No, usually, so in the early days, first off, when you've only got 2 guitars,
that helps. Yeah, makes it easy.
Very, very, very early days. Very early days. But then what happens is when you buy a new one, you're very determined to put that one on there. That's when you first start being able to afford to get one that the Beatles used or that the Who used or whatever. So you're all excited about that. And plus, coming from a working class background, if ever I bought a guitar in the early days, I always made sure I wrote a song on it to pay for it.
Right.
I just had kind of superstition. So that was attached to those sessions. But quite quickly as things went on, my technique, not just in the Smiths, but in all the bands I've been in, was to start layering guitars and adding, using a few guitars on top of each other. And, so I would have 4 or 5 things. Like when I went to play with the Talking Heads, I brought maybe a few with me, because then what started to happen was people who wanted me to play on, other bands who wanted me to play on their records, like Talking Heads, they had a certain idea of something they wanted me to bring, and I have that covered. And even up to the most recent stuff that I've been doing, a bit on sessions. Maybe what's the last thing I did on the James Bond film, for example, with Billie Eilish. I kind of have a good idea these days of what's going to do the job, and that kind of comes with experience. So, I'll take, if I'm going to work on a movie or something, I'll take a few to kind of cover all possibilities, and I've kind of got it down now. So that's after maybe 30 odd years of experimentation and experience too.
Johnny Marr's with us on the KQ Morning Show. The book Marr's Guitars is available wherever you buy books tomorrow. Johnny, I'm sure you've never really lost track along the way of what means the most to you about guitars and why, but putting this book together must have put all that right in sharp relief. I'm sure there were some moments where you had forgotten a little bit here and there. I would imagine it was kind of an emotional project.
Well, you know what, actually, that's exactly right, but that came as a surprise, because the thing with this, you see the book now, and you see this collection of beautiful guitars with unusual photographs and stories, but when I started it, believe it or not, in my mind's eye, I was going to make a book of very abstract, beautiful, like art, like an art book, because the idea came because the guy who's taking all the photographs, Pat Graham, is a good friend of mine. He specializes in those real close-up ones where he goes in and looks at the rust, or he looks at all the cracks, or all the imperfections, because most guitar books, nearly all of them, all kind of look like watch catalogs, right? Or they all look like, they try and make all the guitars look 10 times more expensive than they already are. Whereas I had this idea, as I say, for like a coffee table like art book. So the main challenge, or the main dream I had for the book was not about cataloguing my career, which is what happened and what you asked about. But the first dream was to try and make a book that was just so beautiful, like the way people like books about plants or architecture, bridges or whatever it may be, gardens and all of that. I and they were quite emotional because I remembered exactly who I was and where my head was at when I was 23 or 19 or 32 or in my 40s, playing with Modest Mouse in Portland, Oregon, or when I was playing with REM. I didn't know any of that stuff was going to happen. And I would go home at night and I'd say to my wife, wow, do you remember when we were living here, or do you remember when I recorded that? And then, these stories of Radiohead. I'd forgotten that Radiohead you can use a bunch of my guitars on a record. And so, all of these things took me by surprise, and they absolutely were, because they gave me cause for reflection, really, on what I've learned. And but I've never lost sight of. I've been very careful, not to lose sight of that wonder and the mystery as well of what guitars and guitar playing is for me. I still feel like as I've got older, maybe it's got less, but maybe 40%. I need to be 40% better, and there's a lot that there's a lot that I genuinely don't know, and
sure,
I'm looking forward to getting into that.
Well, the words wonder and mystery are perfect for this. As what I would like to think a self-respecting rock drummer, I roll my eyes when guitarists get off on those conversations and tangents about their gear. That said, I love this book. It's perfect. It really is. It really did whatever your initial vision is. I'm glad you went back into the stories to add to that, because as a fan of your work for all these years, it really, really, I just opened it up last night and I read the whole damn thing. I was like, okay, I'll take a quick look, and I couldn't stop. And it's awesome. I'm sorry we are pressed for time. It is a pleasure to chat with you, Johnny, and thank you for everything you've given my life for 40 years.
That's also very kind. I really appreciate that. And thank you. Hey, listen, man, I know what you drummers are like about snare drums from the 50s and 60s. So I'll give you that.
We all have our crosses to bear. Thanks, Johnny.
Thanks, man.
See ya. Better late than never.
I'm glad he rolled out of the rack. Fantastic.
Isn't that nice? And then, by the way, it's just like, anyway, when I was playing with Talking Heads, and then REM wanted this, and then when Radiohead came to use all my guitars for their record, he's one of those guys, as we said earlier, he's in the mix of so many things that we all love, but, there's always guys behind the counter, or behind the curtain, or in his case, that other guitarist who's not in the band, but you're like, who is that guy? I've seen him somewhere. Johnny Marr is an absolute rare breed and just a great cat. I'm thrilled we got a chance to yap with him. But we're just about out of here, Zep.
I love it. A beautiful book.
The KQ Morning Show, 92 KQRS.